You think the Eagles are more concerned about the character of Carter or the conditioning of Davis? What do you think? Jordan Davis, way too heavy, Sills. Is there a problem with Carter's character? Is decision-making character if you're 20 years old? See, some of you guys would look at me and go like this, Sills, look at the character of Jalen Hurts. Well, how many people have that character like Jalen Hurts in the NFL at that young age? Shit, I don't think Aaron Rodgers has that character. Do you? How many people have Jalen Hurts' character? Isn't Jalen Hurts the top end of character in the NFL? Isn't he the top end? And AB would be the bottom, right? So I'm always in that room where I don't know if I'm going to persecute Jalen Carter yet because he's so young, man. This guy's a young man. He's a young, I mean, and I made a ton of mistakes as a young person. A ton of mistakes. Is it just being young and not, and not, how about this? And not having really good people around you to set you straight and to tell you the way it is. See, when you get to the NFL, man, you know what people keep, you know what people started showing me on my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show? You know what they were doing? They were doing this shit. What about the 2 national championships? That doesn't mean shit in the NFL. Nobody cares about that. That has no bearing on your success in the NFL. If it did, Tim Tebow would be a starting quarterback with the Jets. That has no bearing. That is zero bearing. Tim Tebow was one of the most accomplished college football players of all time. Did it matter what he did at Florida? It didn't matter at all. How many times you see guys have great college career? It doesn't matter what you did. Matters what you're going to do. So I look at Jalen Carter and I go like this. Man, I tell you what, man. I like the kid. I've heard a lot of great things about him. Is he lazy? Probably. You know, sometimes greatness is lazy. You know, see, we expect everyone to be Jordan, and I mean Michael Jordan. Very seldom do you get the greatest player in the history of the sport as the hardest worker and greatest leader. Those dynamics usually don't collide like that. I mean, here, I give you this example all the time. Aaron Rodgers is a superior athlete to Tom Brady. He throws the ball better. He's more accurate. He throws less interceptions, but he does less winning. Why? Because I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants to do the little things that matter. Does he have the character of Marshawn Lynch? I don't think Marshawn Lynch was a problem. I think Marshawn Lynch just had an attitude that people couldn't take. I don't know. I think did Marshawn Lynch have a problem? What was his problem? Did he not show up to games? I must have missed that. I don't have a problem with the guy who's a big mouth. I don't have a problem with guys that are big mouths. I don't have any problem with Marshawn Lynch. As a matter of fact, Marshawn Lynch could play him. I'll tell you this. Well, let me ask you this, Weapon. Were the Seahawks ever the same without Marshawn Lynch? Ask yourself this. When Marshawn Lynch was taken off the Seattle Seahawks, do you think they changed a little bit? I actually like the dude. I'd want that guy in my huddle. I'd want that guy in my locker room. I like him, actually. Okay? I like Marshawn Lynch. I think Marshawn Lynch, I think he was a tone setter in that building. Him and Cam Chancellor. I think Sherman sometimes was a little overhyped and overrated. But I think the guys that ran that organization were Cam Chancellor, The linebacker, I think sometimes Michael Bennett got full of himself, but I think it was Lynch. Okay? I do. He was a beast in Seattle, man. He was. Every time he stepped on the field. And by the way, Pete Carroll, he effed that whole game up like he did the national title game against Texas. Pete Carroll's got 2 L's on his resume because of coaching decisions. Going for it on 4th down against the Longhorns instead of punting it away, and throwing the ball on the 2-yard line against the Patriots. I mean, all you had to do was hand it to Lynch. They win 2 Super Bowls in a row. 2 Super Bowls in a row. But somehow the whole thing got, as far as I'm concerned, I think Russell Wilson probably had something to do with that. I love that guy, man. So to me, I would probably think, if I'm the Eagles, who would I have the most concern about? Boy, man, I think that's a great question. Who would you have the most concern about going into this year with these 2 young players that you have a lot invested in? Jordan Davis or Jalen Carter? What are my – here, let's figure it out. What are my concerns about Carter? Is it showing up on Sundays? You know, remember, one of the things about John Jones that my biggest problem was with him, you know what it was with John Jones? Could he find his way to the octagon? Dude, what an absolute horrible indictment of your resume. You're considered the greatest UFC fighter of all time and the greatest heavyweight of all time. And you know what your biggest problem was? Getting to the octagon. It takes no talent to get to the octagon. It just takes dedication. Is he like John Jones? Dude, am I going to have to worry about you getting to the stadium on Sundays? Versus Jordan Davis, I got to worry about whether or not he's in shape. I think I got more concerns about Carter. Okay? I think I got more concerns about Carter. And I agree with Jason Kelce. You know, Jason Kelce said on his podcast with his brother, that's a kind, see, and Tone, you and I have said this before. I'll say it one more time. You gamble on talent like that, whether he fails or not. I would have no regrets. I would have no regrets if I'm Howie Roseman, if Jalen Carter falls through the cracks. Okay? I would have no problem because it's too much talent to pass up on. Like here, Antonio Brown is a great example too. Are you going to pass on Antonio Brown knowing he gives you 120 catches a year for 7 years in Pittsburgh? No. He's a lunatic. I don't care. I'm going to go as far as I could, like the Patriots did with Aaron Hernandez. You're going to go as far as you can until you can't tolerate it anymore. That's how I coach my teams. I have to be a better administrator and a better coach. And if I've got to babysit to get the best out of Jalen Carter, I'm going to. Damon, Ice Cube's on at 5:30. Hey, some of you probably don't like that. But to me, some of you go, hey, I'm still paying the kid. And I'm giving him an opportunity. Am I enabling him? Dude, this is professional sports. This isn't kindergarten. But if I have to treat you like a child to get the most out of you because I got my name on you too, I don't give a shit what you think. I'm going to. I'm going to put more rules on you than any other player. And I would think that the Eagles are going to do that. I would have more rules for Jalen Carter than Jordan Davis or anybody on that team. You're to be here. You're to report here. And if you don't like it, I don't care. Now, again, I'm not going to start my relationship out like that. But when he starts showing me the lack of dedication, I'm going to start putting those fail-safes in. Okay? I'm going to start putting those fail-safes in. Make sense? Because you know why? The Eagles have to protect themselves. They have to protect their investment. Howie Roseman put his ass on the line here for this. The Eagles and the owner have put their ass on the line. So this is how I'm going to handle Jalen Carter, and I'm going to pull a Jimmy Johnson on him. Son, it's the offseason. You have every ability to set your narrative right now and how. This is what I would do if I was Tracy. I know Tracy, I told you. He's a former teammate of mine, and I'm sure he's telling them this. You have every right now advantage on how we're going to treat you moving forward. You show up to OTAs in shape, responsible, you're attentive, you're in the meetings in the front row, you're doing all the right things that we did when we were at Georgia. No one's going to say shit to you. They're going to treat you like a pro. You start fucking up and you start doing this over here and you start doing this shit and you start going over here and you start lipping people like you did at Georgia sometimes, that's when people are going to start closing those guardrails in on you. And the first guy who's going to close guardrails on you is me. And don't let it get down to this. I want you to have as much room to grow as a human being as possible. Because I would tell Jalen, your worst enemy won't be your opponent. It'll be the dude inside of you that'll stop you on Sundays. Don't let that guy stop you. If it's Zach Martin, okay, we're all pros here. But don't let the guy inside you stop you. Come on now, right? That's the worst opponent to beat people in life, is the guy inside. I tell people this all the time. One of the reasons I do a solo show, if my show sucks and fails, I did it. I'm not having anyone else drag my ass down. I'm the commander of my own destiny. I always have been, and I always will. I have a right to screw up or be successful. No one else is going to drag me down like that. I hate that, being dragged down by someone else's incompetence. That's not going to be me. Ever. Never has been. Dude, the shit that I've done in my career has been at the hands of Dan Sileo. I can blame anybody all I want, but I've been my worst enemy. Okay? You know what's crazy? You guys, because of you guys, we're killing people now. Turning into one of the most watched shows in Philly. Because of you. You could have given me plastic cups with a string and I would beat you. That's how I would talk to Jalen Carter. Okay? Don't let anything beat you, especially the guy inside you. Okay? So I would do it that way. Boy, they got to be, I don't think they're nervous because I think they've done a lot of homework on him. I think they've done a lot of homework. Thank you, Jason. God, but don't let, dude, I am so looking forward to these two guys playing. Man, do they have a lot vested in Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Dude, I think the future of their defense is in these two players. Tony, you agree? I think the entire future of the Eagle defense is in these two guys. High draft picks. High expectations. Man, you get these two guys playing in the middle, in the heart of your defense, you could do anything with that defense. So the Eagles have so much invested in these guys. Back-to-back D tackles, top 15 picks. Shit, man. That's a lot of money. A lot of equity. I think it's cool. You love the gabagool. Dude, I'm rooting. Hey, I'm rooting for both of them. I'm rooting for both. Dude, I'm telling you, I think as much as I had an indictment on the Georgia Bulldog program in prepping these guys for the league, I still think they're talented and super players. I guess, you know what? I do want to, before we get to the Cowboy roster here, I do want to say that to you one last time. I'm not telling you that Georgia doesn't have great players on that team. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying to you again what Baldy said a little bit, that because they have so many, they're not NFL game ready because they don't have game reps and a ton of them. But they make impact plays. Dude, the guys on Georgia versus the guys at Temple. I mean, honestly, you know when you see great rosters and great teams. You know what's at Georgia. I'm not saying that. Funny, people tie that. Well, you said, well, they're not NFL ready. That means you must think they suck. I never said that. I never implied that. I love that player coming out of Alabama. Who, Bryce Young? Fantastic ball player. The kid Gibbs, I think that's a high pick for him with the Lions. You take that running back, I think he's a good ball player. I do. I think he's a good ball player, but I mean, I love, you can work your way to that. They have top tier talent. Absolutely. And actually, to the point, they're out recruiting Alabama now, especially where I think they're getting the advantage over Alabama's in the lines. You're seeing more D tackles and offensive linemen now drafted at Georgia than you are at Alabama. And I think that's been the difference when those two guys match up and play against one another, is the physicality and the depth that they have in those positions. Okay, so they're out recruiting them, in my opinion, in the offensive defensive lines. All right.